This is Mission Control Houston. As we continue to watch the Soyuz MS-09 spacecraft, in the center section of that vehicle are the 3 returning crew members. Soyuz Commander Sergei Prokopyev. The call sign for Soyuz from undocking through landing coming up is the word Altai, which is the name of a mountain range in southern Siberia. The Soyuz commander always selects a call sign for him or herself.
Altai, Moscow.
The International Space Station is approaching the west coast of India, moving from southwest to northeast.
We are ready to execute step 2. We have 5 minutes remaining until transmission is activated.
We are 10.5 minutes away from the issuance of the command to open up the hooks on the Soyuz side of the docking interface with the Rassvet module. The Rassvet hooks were opened about an hour and a half ago. Everything is in order. The only issue that has been worked is a broken communications cable connector for Prokopiev's Soyuz suit that will prevent him from talking directly to the ground while his helmet visor is closed. To alleviate that issue, Alexander Gerst, who is fully trained in the communications protocols and the interaction between a Soyuz commander and the flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov, he will be responsible for talking directly to those folks if required during the descent of the Soyuz back to Earth. It is worth noting that once the deorbit burn occurs, that's scheduled for 10:10 and 52 seconds p.m. Central Time. Again, that'll be a 4-minute, 36-second retrograde firing to slow the Soyuz down, allowing it to drop out of orbit. About 11 minutes after that deorbit burn, when the Soyuz is at a range of some 100 kilometers away from the International Space Station, voice communication through the VHF communication system tends to be choppy and ratty anyway, and sometimes unavailable altogether depending on atmospheric conditions. As the Soyuz makes its way toward the landing site, the communications is typically restored once the Soyuz is within sight of the Antonov 26 fixed-wing aircraft that is a flying command and control center in the landing zone to the southeast of the town of Zhezkazgan. And you can see in this view, as you look at the bottom of your screen, the bulbous portion, which is actually the uppermost section of the Soyuz, the habitation module. If you look on the right, you can see the ragged section of insulation that Oleg Kononenko cut away during his spacewalk back on December 11th with Sergei Prokopyev to reach the external hull of the habitation module, correspondent with the area on the inside where a hole was detected back in late August associated with a pressure decay aboard the station, prompting a repair using an epoxy sealant that extruded through the hole itself, and which samples were collected for return to Earth on this Soyuz and analysis by Russian engineers.
Command is confirmed. Moscow, this is Altai 1. Moscow time is 4:32. I am switching on closed transmitter. Copy. It's on. I am activating display plus TV. Copy. 4:33. Please get ready for the enabling, dynamic modes enabling. Copy. I'm ready. We are ready. The camera is on. We do see the crosshairs. Copy. I'm ready. I'm ready to send the command at 4:33:00. Copy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. I've sent the command. 4:33. We've sent the command. Okay, we are checking the telemetry. The carrier parameters are nominal. 1, 2, 1, 3. Confirmed. Angular rate sensor 1112, 13 is confirmed. We will be receiving the image shortly, or we are receiving it already. Copy all.
Less than 5.5 minutes away from the undocking command. We're just 7 minutes away from physical separation.
Unintelligible. Copy, KDU is nominal. Send the command. Copy. Yes, 45. AGC.
Так, пересветку. Эрфин выдал.
We have sent that command. Copy.
Классно. Вот, все хорошо видно.
Everything is visible. AGC, I pressed it once. The visibility is great.
Развернул экран.
I've moved the display. Copy.
Так, ну, включаю фару.
Включаем.
We are switching it on.
Фар включен.
The headlight is on.
D2 не горит.
D2 is not illuminated. Copy.
Резерв ССВП не горит.
Backup SSOP is not illuminated. Copy. D2.
In the center section of that Soyuz vehicle that you're looking at from this view from an ISS truss camera, Sergei Prokopiev, the Soyuz commander, in the center seat, flanked on his left by European Space Agency astronaut Alexander Gerst, the off-going Expedition 57 commander,
Copy.
Serena Aunin, Chancellor of NASA, to Prokopiev's right. Gerst, as board engineer number one, will have the lion's share of communications responsibilities during this descent because of a communications cable connector issue that cropped up a couple of hours ago with Prokopiev's Sokol launch and entry suit. Not serious enough, however, to impact the undocking that's coming up in just about 4 minutes. At the time of undocking, Expedition 58 will formally begin aboard the International Space Station under the command of Oleg Kononenko, who arrived on board the station just over 2 weeks ago with his two crewmates, David St. Jacques of the Canadian Space Agency and Anne McClain of NASA. The three of them will remain a three-person crew for the next 2.5 months until the arrival on March 1st, Baikonur time, of the next trio to fly on Soyuz MS-12 that will consist of Alexei Ovchinin and Nick Hague getting another ride to orbit in the wake of their Soyuz launch abort back on October 11th. They'll be launching this time with Christina Cook of NASA to bring the station back to a full 6-person crew capability.
Hold tight. 20 seconds. You need to activate SSOP and your go to send the GS-17 command.
Принято 10.
Copy. 10 seconds.
8.
8,
5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Press it.
D7 выдал.
I've sent the 7 command.
The Soyuz MS-09 docking mechanism has now been commanded to power up. We're inside a minute until the issuance of the command to open up the Soyuz hooks on the Rassvet module.
GS-8 confirmed.
Готовлюсь выдать D17 вовремя.
I'm ready to send the GS-17 command on time. Copy. Please send this command in 30 seconds.
Я готов выдать
I'm ready to send GS-17 command at 04:39:00. Copy, Alex. Your go.
10 секунд.
Copy. 10 seconds.
5,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go.
And the hooks are now driving open. This will take about 90 seconds, at which point the springs on both sides of the docking interface between the Soyuz and the Rassvet module will push off against one another to create the physical separation that will mark the beginning of Expedition 58 on the International Space Station.
Ожидаем распеков.
We are standing by for the undock.
При физическом расхождении объектов контролируйте
Please control mechanical separation.
на поверхности стыка. Как я вам говорил, по камере и по выколу.
Please use both the camera and the video display. Video system. Copy.
Изображение на
We can see
ясное, без
very clear image on the camera without any noise or anything else. We can see everything very well. Copy.
We're standing by for physical separation of the Soyuz MS-09 from the International Space Station, and there it is.
I can confirm the
Undocking confirmed at 7:40 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, right on time, as the International Space Station flew 252 miles over southeastern Mongolia.
The indicator mode is not illuminated anymore. SSVP mode is illuminated. We can see the docking node. We don't see any debris or anything else on the docking mode. It's clean. Copy.
GSO 1, 2 есть.
GSO 1 and 2 are confirmed. Copy. Please start the timer.
GSO вообще она есть, что? Игнат?
Yes. GSO 1 is illuminated. Please start the timer. Sergey.
Секундомер запущен.
The timer is on.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're hearing a conversation between the Russian flight controllers and Korolyov and the crew on board Soyuz MS-09. Again, you're looking at the vehicle now flying free of the International Space Station, undocking, occurring right on time at 7:40 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, 8:40 and 30 seconds p.m. Eastern Time, as the station and the Soyuz flew 250 plus miles over southeastern Mongolia.
Visually, the range is approximately 12 meters. Copy. Sergey, we wish you soft docking. We can see you. Thank you, Oleg. Have a great flight on the ISS. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And another view of the Soyuz vehicle as it continues to back away from the International Space Station.
Prepare for the first Delta V. We are ready. We're getting ready. We're expecting it in 30 seconds. Copy.
Игнат.
15 seconds to go. 10.
3 минуты. Есть работа ДПО.
We confirm DPO firing.
The first of two separation burns underway. This is an 8-second burn to increase an opening rate between the Soyuz that now is in a roll program.
I can see the maneuver. The maneuver is complete. It's a roll maneuver. Copy.
Конец разворота.
The maneuver is complete now.
Есть GSO.
I confirm GSO. Combined GSO.
30 секунд.
The second of the two separation burns will be coming up shortly. A 15-second burn
Second burn.
that will further increase the opening rate between the Soyuz and the International Space Station.
20 seconds.
You're looking down at the snow-covered terrain of far eastern Russia as the Soyuz and the International Space Station soon will begin a northwest to southeasterly track.
3, 2, 1.
Есть работа.
We confirm depot firing.
4:44.
The
Second separation burn now underway. This will be a 15-second burn.
10 секунд отработали.
10 seconds.
Наблюдаем смещение.
We can see the maneuver.
Хорошо. Есть выключение ДПО.
We confirm that depot is off. 15 seconds.
Инструкция. Конец времени.
Copy.
Есть.
Принято.
Copy all, guys.
Не горят, акселерометр не горит, надув не горит.
We can see that We can see the maneuver, confirm it.
Бдосы не горят, акселерометр не горит.
The accelerometers and the angular rate sensor units are not illuminated. Copy. Altai is Moscow. Your go to perform the closeout steps.
Passed out of range of our downlink TV capability here momentarily. We should be regaining that a short time from now. You're looking at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov. Once again, undocking occurring at 7:40 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, 8:40 and 30 seconds p.m. Eastern Time.
We are sending
Undocking occurring over southeast Mongolia.
We are deactivating
Soyuz MS-09, Prokopiev, Gerst, and Anand Chancellor now flying free of the International Space Station, which is now under the
one is illuminated.
moniker of Expedition 58 and Station Commander Oleg Kononenko.
D8 and SSVP is off. It's confirmed. Copy.
V18.
D18 has been just sent. Copy, Alex. Thank you.
Пару выключить.
The headlight is off.
Рот убираем в транспортное положение.
And we are switching the translational hand controller to the stow position.
Фары выключен.
The headlight is off. I confirm that. Thank you, Alex.
Алекс, зафиксируй, пожалуйста.
Alex, please secure this.
Давление в шарбаллонах.
The spherical pressure tank
Во втором. Количество топлива.
is 161 and 169. Accordingly, the amount of prop is 476, and we are ready to send the gap 4 command on your go.
Great image of the Soyuz MS-09 flying just over the limb of the Earth, over the Sea of Okhotsk.
Принято.
Copy all.
Everything is in great shape on board. The recovery team, the search and recovery forces, Rosaviatsa of the Russian search and recovery teams, along with NASA and European Space Agency personnel, will be making their way soon to the airport in Zhezkazgan, where they'll begin to board Russian Mi-8 helicopters to head toward the landing zone, which is about 87 miles to the southeast of Zhezkazgan. The temperature is hovering around the 10-degree Fahrenheit mark this morning, which is Thursday morning over in Kazakhstan.
TV is confirmed. It's off. We are sending gap 4 command right now.
Время выдачи команды 4:48:40.
The time when we sent that command is 4:48:40. Moscow. Altai, how copy? We read you loud and clear, guys.
Да, принято.
Copy all.
Мы появились просто.
We started hearing some noises.
Мы готовы работать по странице.
And we are ready to go to page 48. Copy all. We confirm that. Altai.
Работаем по странице 40.
We are on page 48. Work prep, step 1.
Рано.
У вас включение акселерометра.
Accelerometers are off.
6 часов 08:10.
At 6:08:10 0810. So you do still have some time, guys.
Хорошо,
Copy all.
Скажите тогда по времени, когда.
Please warn us like 5 minutes in advance. Yes, we will give you a heads up, guys.
Спасибо.
Okay, copy. Altai, Moscow.
На связи.
Go ahead. The descent setbacks have been.
Surely, as the seconds pass away, the Soyuz MS-09 and its 3 occupants moving steadily away from the International Space Station.
Copy.
We are just over 2 hours away from the deorbit burn that will begin the Soyuz's descent back to Earth, and just over 3 hours away from its intended landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan, about 87 miles to the southeast of the remote town of Jezkazgan. The landing scheduled just after 11:03 p.m. Central Time, 12:03 a.m. Eastern Time.
Yes, we do see the required setbacks. Yes, go ahead. Set points. Go ahead.
Сейчас в экипаже обсудить ваше взаимодействие.
Our proposal to you is to start discussing your interaction among each other. You can release the button for 5 or 10 minutes and discuss your next steps all together. And after that, please press the COM button again, and we will continue our reports. Okay, copy.
As the Soyuz moves away from the International Space Station, the next order of business for the 3 crew members on board will be a bit of free time as they review their descent procedures that will take place following the deorbit burn that's coming up in 2 hours and 17 minutes. It takes about 2 orbits of the Earth for the Soyuz to move away from the vicinity of the International Space Station for its deorbit burn. That is scheduled at 10:10 and 52 seconds p.m. Central Time, 11:10:52 Eastern Time. As we watch the Soyuz MS-09 departing from the International Space Station en route to a landing just over 3 hours from now on the steppe of Kazakhstan, we have a social media question that's come into us from the Great Kid at #AskNASA. The question, what's next for Expedition 57 and its crew after they've returned to Earth? So the landing that's scheduled a few hours from now will be followed by the crew being brought into a nearby medical tent that will be erected at the landing site so that they can get out of their Sokol launch and entry suits and into more comfortable flight clothing. They'll undergo initial medical exams. They'll be placed in Russian helicopters for a short flight from the landing site to the staging city of Zhezkazgan, after which they'll split up with Russian cosmonaut Sergei Prokopyev boarding a Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center aircraft for a flight back to his home in Star City, Russia, outside of Moscow. Serena Aunin, Chancellor of NASA, and Alexander Gerst of the European Space Agency will board a NASA jet that will be in Zhezkazgan to fly to Bodo, Norway for a refueling stop. It will be in Bodo that Gerst will disembark and move on to an European Space Agency aircraft that's been pre-positioned there to fly back to the European Astronaut Center in Cologne, Germany. Aunin, Chancellor, with her support personnel, will return to Houston. Continuing to receive downlink television from one of the truss cameras on the International Space Station. The Soyuz MS-09 vehicle under the call sign of Altai. Sergei Prokopyev in the middle seat, the commander's seat of the descent module, the centermost section of the three-section Soyuz spacecraft, flanked on his left by Alexander Gerst, on his right by Serena Aunin, Chancellor, flying free from the station for the first time since the vehicle docked to the Rosviet module back on June 8th. The crew in the home stretch of a 197-day mission. Alex Gerst wrapping up his second long-duration flight, and at the time of landing, just 3 hours from now, will have logged 362 days in space, almost a full year, more than any other European Space Agency astronaut in history. About 2 weeks ago, he eclipsed the previous mark for most days in space by European Space Agency astronaut of 350 days, set by Thomas Reiter.
So when cabin pressure stabilizes, do you think it will make sense to open the visor, or I should keep it closed? Sergey, we understand it perfectly. We don't have that recommendation for you yet. Okay, I understand. We will work nominally in accordance with our timeline, and we have just tested it. We can hear each other even when our visors are closed, so we're really hopeful about it. Copy.
Sergei Prokopyev telling Russian flight controllers at the Russian Mission Control Center that even with visors closed, the crew on board can talk to each other and hear each other quite clearly. That's good news, as the crew tests its communications and interactive capabilities in the wake of a cable connector problem that Prokopiev had with his Sokol launch and entry suit.
Correct. Alex will do that. Alex, please go over the reports, the words. Okay, well, I reviewed that. I will be reporting on everything.
И, соответственно, экипажу, да, транслировать значение барометрической высоты.
And we will be expecting to get barometric pressure readings from you at each 100 meters interval. Okay, copy. Okay, Alex.
Meanwhile, as you can hear from this conversation, Alexander Gerst in the left seat of the Soyuz descent module as board engineer number 1. Basically, the backup, if you will, with the same level of training and skills as a Soyuz commander, in charge of the interactive communications with the Russian flight controllers on the ground, with Prokopiev continuing to monitor Soyuz systems and talking to his 2 crewmates that are flanking him.
And I think that he can see it. Yes, I confirm. Okay, copy. Alex?
Открой, пожалуйста, 59-ю страницу.
Could you please go to page 59
Открой, пожалуйста, книги спуска.
in your descent procedures? Page 59. Page 59 is open. You say you will have to establish communications with the search and rescue services, and you will have to report on crew health status, on the type of descent, and also the ballistic offset or ballistic miss value. Okay, I copy all. I will be providing my commentary. Okay, copy. Ignat, one more question. On settings display, there are SUS entry control system settings, but the time is designated with the stars and star asterisk signs, and the landing angle is here. We have it. Well, we currently don't have the data for now. That's why it is not in your procedures. But I will give you all the settings. Copy. And dynamic mode enable time will be done via KRL. Okay. Copy. Excellent.
This is Mission Control Houston. Just to recap, you're continuing to watch the Soyuz MSO-9 vehicle move away from the International Space Station after its undocking that occurred on time at 7:40 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time. about 25 minutes ago. That was followed in short order by a pair of thruster firing separation burns of 8 and 15 seconds respectively to initiate an opening rate for the Soyuz away from the International Space Station. The station now has begun Expedition 58 under the command of Oleg Kononenko. On board the Soyuz, Sergei Prokopiev, flanked on his left by Alexander Gerst, and on his right by Serena Aunen-Chancellor, moving to a safe distance away from the station for the deorbit burn that is scheduled just over 2 hours from now at 10:10 and 52 seconds p.m. Central Time, 11:10:52 Eastern Time. That will be a 4-minute, 36-second braking maneuver to slow the Soyuz down by 128 meters per second, allowing it to drop out of orbit for its descent back into the Earth's atmosphere. About 10 seconds after the completion of that deorbit burn, the upper portion of the three-section Soyuz vehicle, the habitation module, that has been the focus of so much attention since a hole was discovered in it back in late August that caused a pressure decay in the station before a repair was effected. That habitation module will be depressurized in advance of the pyrotechnic separation of the three sections of the Soyuz. The descent module is the only section that re-enters the Earth intact for a parachute-assisted landing on the steppe of Kazakhstan. Another social media question coming in from Eric Moore as you look at a view of the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Moscow. How fast and how long does it take to get back to Earth after leaving the space station? So the bottom line is, with the undocking at 7:40 p.m. Central Time, the deorbit burn occurs about 2 hours and 40 minutes later, and it takes just under an hour after the deorbit burn for the Soyuz to touch down on the southern steppe of Kazakhstan. So about 3 hours and 40 minutes or so, 3 hours and 3.5 hours roughly. The Soyuz descends at a rapid pace through the upper reaches of the Earth's atmosphere before its parachutes are deployed 15 minutes before touchdown. That dramatically slows its descent. In fact, for the parachute deployment, it occurs in a sequential fashion. The command that will be issued to deploy the chutes occurs at an altitude of 6.5 miles above the Earth. It is scheduled at 10:49 Central Time, 11:49 p.m. Eastern Time. 2 pilot parachutes are first deployed, the second of which extracts a drogue chute. The drogue chute is then released. That slows the Soyuz down from a descent rate of 230 meters per second to just 80 meters per second. That's followed in short order by the release of the main parachute. It's a huge orange and white chute that covers an area of 1,000 meters. It slows the Soyuz to a descent rate of 7.2 meters per second. First, the harnesses on the chute allow the Soyuz to descend at a canted angle of about 30 degrees to expel any residual heat from re-entry. Then the Soyuz is shifted to a straight vertical descent for the firing of braking rockets called soft landing engines just a couple of feet off the ground to complete the descent back to Earth. And for those just tuning in, it was just 30 minutes ago that the Soyuz MS-09 undocked from the Rosviet module following the opening of the hooks, holding it to the Rosviet module. The undocking occurring at 7:40 and 30 seconds p.m. Central Time, 8:40 and 30 seconds p.m. Eastern Time. As you can see, the Soyuz vehicle with the crew strapped in their respective seats in that center section, the upper section, which is actually at the bottom of this view of the Soyuz, the habitation module, and the section at the top with the solar arrays, that's the instrumentation and propulsion module. Those two sections pyrotechnically separate from the descent module 28 minutes after the deorbit burn that will be coming up less than 2 hours from now. The only section that survives re-entry is that center section. The heat shield will be flying in the direction of travel toward the landing site through the atmosphere. The heat shield ablates the effects of the entry into plasma in the upper regions of the atmosphere, with heat building around the descent module to about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. After the crew descends out of the plasma regime, the heat shield is jettisoned. That exposes an altimeter and the soft landing engines at the base of the descent module for the remainder of its ride down to the landing site, and a parachute-assisted landing that is scheduled at 11:03 and 21 seconds p.m. Central Time, which will be 11:03 and 21 seconds a.m. Kazakhstan time on Thursday morning. This is Mission Control Houston. You're looking at a view of the Russian Mission Control Center outside of Korolyov. It has been about 35 minutes since the undocking of the Soyuz MS-09 spacecraft and its 3 occupants, the off-going Expedition 57 crew from the Rosviet module of the International Space Station. They are flying free and moving to a safe distance away from the station for the deorbit burn that will begin their trip back to Earth. That's scheduled just under 2 hours from now. The weather forecast at the landing site calls for broken clouds at about 1,500 feet. Not pristine visibility today for landing. Winds out of the east-northeast at about 6 knots, peaking to 12 knots. The temperature at landing is expected to be about 11 degrees Fahrenheit with a wind chill factor of about -3 degrees Fahrenheit. So it will be quite chilly for the crew once they are extracted from their spacecraft and put in chairs nearby to get a few minutes of orientation back to Earth's gravity before being brought into a nearby medical tent to get out of their launch and entry suits and into more comfortable clothing. We'll talk more about the actual landing and the aftermath of landing for this crew when we come back on the air at 9:45 p.m. Central Time, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Time, with our coverage of deorbit burn, landing, and all the post-landing activities at the landing site here on NASA television. Again, the deorbit burn scheduled at 10:10 p.m. Central, 11:10 p.m. Eastern. Landing schedule less than an hour later to the southeast of the town of Zhezkazgan, Kazakhstan, at 11:03 p.m. Central Time, 12:03 a.m. Eastern Time. It will be 11:03 a.m. in Kazakhstan on Thursday morning. So that'll wrap up our coverage of the undocking of the Soyuz and its 3 crew members from the International Space Station. We'll see you again in about an hour and a half with our deorbit and landing coverage on NASA television beginning at 9:45 p.m. Central Time, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Time. This is Mission Control Houston.